The man accidentally came to the island, and he was tied up by a rope all over his body. He was locked up by 35 horses of flip-flops. All he saw was a voice of Paul. He stood up and felt that he must be dreaming. This is when the general rode a horse towards him and stabbed him with a dart gun. Then a few soldiers threw a hook together and hooked Paul's fat butt and began to pull hard. Paul couldn't hold it. He fell to the ground with his butt, and then he fainted. When he woke up again, he was tied up in a car and was slowly pushed into the little people's country. The people of Chigua ran to watch. Paul was treated as a monster. When they reached the door of the palace, they locked Paul up. They didn't even see such a big man. The next day, Paul was brought to the field. He pulled a car and began to dig up the ground. At this time, the palace was attacked by the enemy assassins, so the general quickly turned the wheel and controlled Paul to return to the palace to save his family. Just like that, Paul ran back to the palace at a speed of 60 kilometers per second. The general let Paul lie down and jumped down to save the princess alone and ordered all the soldiers not to interfere. But Karl knew that the general was bragging again, so he untied Paul's shackles and asked him to help him. At this moment, Paul was the first to come and picked up 2 assassins and turned over and threw them into the fish pond. He easily saved the princess in this way. When the general came to the station, the battle was over. The princess thanked Paul, and the king was trapped in the temple of the fire. So Paul ran over again. He wanted to take the king out of his hand, but he was burnt by the fire. In a hurry, he took off his huge pant and saw a yellow water candle. He didn't have a good time, so he threw the fire away. Although the taste was not very good, the effect was fine. This is the general who was fighting to win. The man turned his head in a subconscious way and happened to have a little bit of luck. He didn't waste anything and gave it to the general. When the king came down, there was no atmosphere at all. It was all the anger of the Gaga. Fortunately, the king was not angry. Instead, he treated the man as the savior. For this purpose, he arranged a table at night, but the man took a whole plate of fruit and poured it directly into his mouth. It looked like it was not enough to stick his teeth in. He didn't eat for a long time, but this did not affect the ability to pull the skin. He insisted that he was Altman, a little monster with all kinds of dissatisfaction. He said that he almost believed himself. The people of the small kingdom are all envious of each other. The next day, in order to express the grace of saving lives, the king specially arranged people to build a villa for the man by the sea. From then on, the man went to the top of the small kingdom. Not only did someone give him coffee, there were even dozens of people to pick up. Even watching a movie, there were thousands of people with him. The man became more and more in the king's favor. Time went by. Directly gave the man a hero's medal. This also involved the general's position. The general secretly closed the defense facilities of the small kingdom, causing the enemy to take advantage of the need to enter. Not only did he attack the palace with cannons, the sea army was about to fight the small kingdom. The small commander did not do the right thing, immediately found a man in the villa. As the hero of the small kingdom, men naturally can't do things they don't care. So he came to the king to take orders. But this time, the general said, "The man is nothing." Under compulsion, the man had to go forward with his head. I only saw him take off his huge red short sleeves and 48 horses of shoes. Then he walked towards the sea. When he came to the enemy, the man did not attack the enemy, but took the initiative. He wanted to persuade the education. The enemy listened to me and played with Jaja, randomly a big hand. Countless cannons came in front of him. I didn't expect the cannon to hit him. It's just a mark. There's no injury on his body. Then the man pulled his belly. The cannon instantly rebounded back. The confused enemy suddenly got confused. He was angry and jumped into the sea. Looking at the enemy running away, Fatty didn't think he was so awesome. He put the cannon in his stomach, he put 2 hands in the sea, and he grabbed all the ropes. In an instant, hundreds of warships were out of control. And after this battle, Fatty became a superhero. The whole little people's country was full of his poster. The clothes selling Fatty's card, even the small thing like cutting hair. There are 3 Tony's colleagues. It's the peak of life. Fatty is getting more and more important. The general is more and more grieved. He finally rebelled and came to the enemy. Ask the other side to help him defeat Fatty. At the same time, Fatty was still in danger. It's already coming. Alarm sounded. People fled. Then a red egg opened. The general who was sitting inside was the general who rebelled. He said he would die. Just when he was confused, the red egg turns into a big robot. The fat man tries to push that huge robot, but nothing happens to him. Then the general pushes it with the help of that robot. Fatty falls down. The general picks him up and moves him up and down. Seeing this, the king and princess also get worried. The next moment, he is tied to a big boat and left in the sea. The next day,
day. When he wakes up, he finds himself on an island. He walks a little far away. Then a big glass comes toward him. Before he can understand anything, he finds himself in a girl's dress.
The room suddenly began to vibrate. The next second, a huge girl opened the door. It turned out that the little fat man had come to the giant kingdom. He was scared to death, but was stopped by a bottle of milk and then beat him up. The girl played hard to get and even gave him a urine test. The little fat man thought he had lived like this for the rest of his life, but he didn't expect the little man's car to suddenly come over and say that the little man had a woman who claimed to be his girlfriend. But the general was about to kill him. The little fat man heard that his girlfriend was in danger and couldn't do it right away. He stole a parachute and escaped from the giant island. When he came back, the little fat man was going to have another fight with the general, but this time, because there was a goddess watching, he was afraid to rush up. But he didn't expect the general to upgrade the robot again. The robot immediately sent a current and directly turned the little fat man to the bottom of the sky. The little fat man, who was not convinced, got up again but was hit by the current and couldn't move. At this critical moment, Carl, while the robot was not paying attention, quietly climbed into the control room inside the robot and pulled off the wire inside. The little fat man saw the opportunity to come. Directly at Invisible Foot kicked the robot and then took the statue as a weapon and jumped on the robot and began to hammer it. After a few days of hammering, the robot was completely turned into a pile of scrap iron. The little fat man finally won the movie. At the end of the movie, Carl and the princess got married. The little fat man and his girlfriend also had a happy time in the little man's country. A happy life.
And just like that, our little fat hero, who once felt like a nobody, became the biggest name in two different worlds. Sometimes life throws us into strange places, but maybe that's exactly where we're meant to grow. If you felt even a little connected to this story, go ahead and tap that like button, only if your heart says so. And hey, so we don't lose each other in this big, noisy internet, you can hit subscribe too. That way, our paths can cross again. Until then, keep dreaming big, even if the world feels small.